You are listening to Let's Talk Trio on podcasts. Keep up with the latest episodes by downloading the Podbean app or stream episodes via our social media accounts. Search for Let's Talk Trio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This podcast episode is brought to you by Longsdale Publishing. Is your program seeking ways to assess your students' college readiness? Does your program need a tool to document the effectiveness of your program? Longsdale Publishing is excited to offer the Strategic Learning Assessment, a 20-minute online assessment that provides recommendations and strategies to improve academic performance across 11 learning areas: communication, critical thinking, effective learning strategies, focus and concentration, growth mindset, persistence, seeking help, sense of belonging, stress management, test preparation, and time management. For as little as $3 per student, the Strategic Learning Assessment identifies strengths and areas for growth, along with tailored recommendations for each learning area. Want a complimentary sample account for yourself and 5 students? Contact Longsdale Publishing at 727-389-8026. Again, that number is 727-389-8026. Or visit our website for more information at www.longsdale.com. That website again is www.longsdale.com. Longsdale Publishing, your partner in student success. This episode is sponsored by StudentAccess. StudentAccess, the leader in Trio software. StudentAccess is an online database solution that allows Trio programs to track their students' information, connect with students by text messages, streamline the APR, and work from anywhere, all online, with automatic updates for changes from the Department of Education. Their technical support team includes former Trio staff and has over 50 years of combined experience working with Trio. Make it easier to focus on your priority, the students. For more information and to request a free demo, visit their website at www.studentaccess.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-801-1232. That website again is www.studentaccess.com or 1-800-801-1232. Be sure to share your favorite episodes on your social media by tapping that share button. This is a great way to support the podcast. Now here's your host, Juan Rivas.
Thank you, Amelia, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, Trio Nation, and welcome to this episode of Let's Talk Trio. This is Season 7, Episode 35. I am your host, Juan Rivas. Before we begin, some community announcements. Trio Nation, your voice is working. While Congress is moving to protect Trio funding for 2026, we must remain vigilant. Administrative shifts still threaten the stability of Trio grants. Take action now by calling your congressional representatives today. Thank them for their bipartisan support and urge them to ensure Trio programs remain fully funded and operational without delay. Let them know Trio works. The link to find your congressional representative can be found on the episode description. In today's episode, we have Amante Cunningham, alum of the Trio Student Support Services Program and Upward Bound Math Science programs, and serves as the program coordinator for the Educational Talent Search Program at Eastern Kentucky University. Hear Amante share his upbringing, educational journey in Trio, and returning to serve Trio as a professional. Coming up in just a bit, Amante Cunningham. A heartfelt thanks to our individual supporters, Angelica Vialpando, Rosario Riley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Jeff Nepute, Angelica Valdez, Felicia Rivera, Eric LaMaster, Jeff Kahlden, Rick Martinez, Don BlueSky-Hill, and Jaded Electronics. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, TrioJoblist.com, NOSOTROS Education Center, Longsdale Publishing, StudentAccess, and TheTrioStore.com, powered by Proforma. Visit www.thetriostore.com, your source for Trio graduation stoles. Thank you so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can be a sponsor of Let's Talk Trio podcast in one of three ways. Become a patron on Patreon. Our support starts for as little as $1 a month. If you own a business that serves the Trio community and want to sponsor the podcast, we have different sponsorship packages available. Contact us for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast business PayPal account. Our business handle is @Let'sTalkTrio. Your support helps lift Trio voices. If you would like to nominate a participant, staff, or alumni to be on the podcast, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Again, a great episode featuring Amante Cunningham, Trio alum and program coordinator for Educational Talent Search at Eastern Kentucky University. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode. Hi, Trio Nation. My guest on the Let's Talk Trio podcast is an alum of the Trio Student Support Services program from Western Kentucky University, and he currently serves as the program coordinator for Trio Educational Talent Search program at Eastern Kentucky University. He graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Social Media Marketing from Western Kentucky University in May 2024. When he is not busy with work or serving the Trio programs, my guest enjoys spending time at home with his dog Ace and playing video games. He loves to go out in nature and take hikes on his spare time. He also loves fashion. Welcome to the podcast, Amante Cunningham. Amante, welcome.
First off, thank you for having me. It's truly an honor to be here and represent Trio. I'm really excited to share my story. And like I said, I'm just thankful for the opportunity.
We are very honored that you're on here. It is an honor. I know that, Amante, that we were trying to connect earlier part of the year. We were trying to get this schedule figured out. We finally landed on a day that worked out for both of us. So again, it's an honor to have you and an honor to be featuring your story here.
I really do appreciate you. I don't think the people understand. We've been trying to get this matched up for a while now. So this is a really big opportunity for us to.
This was a work in progress and a long time coming for sure.
Yes.
How are things on your end?
Honestly, I can say that I'm blessed right now. I'm in a season of growing and being very intentional. Work is progressing. I'm seeing, my students grow on a day-to-day basis, but I feel like, life is hard. There are challenges, but I'm learning how to navigate them with more discipline. I want to be more intentional with my discipline. I think this is the first time in my life where I can honestly say, I'm feeling aligned with where I want to go and where I've always strived to be. So, like I said, this is just a point in my life where I feel very intentional and driven with my goals that I really want to do, especially with advocacy and Trio. I feel like I'm at a great place right now to finally let people understand the severity and the importance of what it is to be a Trio alum and not to be scared of that either.
Wow. That's amazing. I think you had hit on a really good point about Trio alumni. Either we get really the alumni that really are engaged and out there advocating, and those who kind of fall off a little bit and need a reminder, like you're a Trio alum. Advocate for the programs that absolutely helped you in the beginning.
I agree. I have a big quote that I really love to use. It's never forget where you came from. And I can honestly say in every step of my education career, started from high school on up into college, and even now as a professional, I wouldn't be here without Trio. So I really want people, whether you're younger and you're like, well, I do come from a first gen and low income household, don't be ashamed of that. You should honestly wear it on your sleeve, and you should really take it and run with it. This is our stories. Then there's nothing to be scared of in terms of you being you.
100%. Can you talk a little bit about Kentucky? For those of us who have never been, how would you describe it?
I feel like Kentucky is one of those places where it's a hidden gem. It honestly is. It's an experience that you have to come see it for yourself to actually embrace it. There's a lot of potential here, but we don't have a lot of resources. The students here are smart, driven, they're all capable. But like I said, we don't always have the same resources as certain, big metropolitan areas. But that's why I love programs like Trio because it gives us an area or a program to, allow our voices to be heard, and people can finally understand the gist that, we are just as monumental and our stories are just as important. We shouldn't be shied away from the moment, to embrace the fact that we're Kentuckians. It doesn't matter. I know most people might be like, well, it's a lot of country. I can tell you right now that it's not as much country as you think. I could take you to Louisville. I could take
Uh-huh.
you to Lexington, but even my hometown, Paducah, I don't consider it country at all. I feel like there's a lot of diversity where I'm from, and you'll hear me say it a
Hmm.
lot, and I will always say it. I am 270 born and raised. I will always wear Paducah, Kentucky on my back.
Right on. Awesome. Uh, First of all, can you believe that we're already like, for those of us who are in the academic calendar, we function off of fall, spring, summer. We're already in spring and headed toward summer. It already feels like we're hurtling that way.
Yes, yes. For me, time has like flown by and I've been trying to keep up with it, but I feel like everything that's going on in the trail world has honestly like fast forwarded time. It's
Oh
either
my
you
gosh, yeah.
keep up or you kind of get left in the dust. But I feel like
Yeah.
right now, with how fast time has gone, it's allowed me to grow at a steady pace. And honestly, mentally, I've become more stronger as time has flown by. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's made it a lot easier to pour into the students, and I just feel like everything's moving at an authentic but fast rate.
Absolutely. What is something that you hope to accomplish this year?
If I'm gonna be honest, I just want to grow more individually, mentally. I feel like for me, one of the bigger things that I focus on is mental health advocacy, and I feel like
Mm,
here recently with what's been going on, and I know I've said that a couple of times here, and I know we might get into that deeper, but whenever there's a lot going on in terms of your job, but deeper than your job, what you grew up in terms
mm,
of a trio student, it's
hmm.
easy to get hard on yourself and then question and then beat yourself up like, man, I might not be here, be able to serve my students tomorrow or the next day. But
Hmm.
I feel like the more that I just, keep myself at a calm, composed rate, life has gotten really easier.
Hmm. Okay. What recommendations would you make to folks to like really put that into focus for themselves?
Could you explain that a little bit deeper for me?
Absolutely. Like, how do you get to the point of being able to not worry so much about something or not put too much not to worry, I guess it's really the core of the question.
Remembering what I'm here for, understanding that I'm also, I'm honestly trying to fight for the little version of me who felt like he didn't have a voice. Once I realize there's certain things that are bigger than me, it honestly makes this a lot easier. It doesn't feel like a job. This just feels like a lifestyle. Trio feels like a lifestyle. It's not like you have to put much thought into it. Once you understand what you're here for, because I can
Hmm.
relate to my students like I'm one of them. It honestly takes me back. So once I'm just like, you're one of them. Why are you stressing? You understand that,
Hmm.
you can only control so much. You just go with the wind.
All right. I like that. So during your intro, it was noted that you enjoy fashion, video games, hikes, spending time with your dog Ace. First, we got to know what type of dog is Ace?
For those dog lovers out there, you might know what he is. He is a plot hound. He's brindle. So he is
Oh,
actually the North Carolina state dog. I had to do my research because at first when I got my dog, they were like, "You have a pit bull." He is not a pit bull. He is
not a
a
pit bull.
plot
Okay.
hound, but I love him to death. A fun fact. So growing up, I didn't really have a stable dog. We had certain dogs
Mm,
stay here, and then we might have to sell it or give away due to financial needs. But I've had my
mm.
dog ever since, if I'm correct, 2023. So he's turning 3 years old, and he's more than just a dog.
Whoa.
He's my mental health. He's my mental health like caveat. I really do like confide in him. I just hug him whenever life gets hard. But he is my family. I'm here in Lexington on my own. So he gives me a sense that I'm not alone at any and every time.
Right on. So also noted you like hikes. I'm sure Kentucky has a lot of areas where there's plenty of hikes to happen. You also noted video games. So I'm kind of curious because also I'm a bit of a video game connoisseur myself. What type of video games do you play or what's your console?
So I am a video game Nerd. I actually have my own PC that I have built, and I also have a
Oh
PlayStation
wow.
5. I
Uh-huh.
I'm not picky. I'm a video game lover, so you can find me anything that you're gonna any game on Steam. In terms of PlayStation, I'm not really a first person shooter guy. That's never been my thing. I'm one of those
Mm-hmm.
adventures kind of people. One of the games that I know people are gonna be like, huh? I really like Hogwarts Legacy. That's a really good game.
Oh.
Dead
Oh
by
wow.
Daylight. I really like, scary horror games. Um, I do play NBA 2K in sports games, but I actually, mold myself after a YouTuber named Corey Kenshin. He plays a lot of horror games, and he's very much so a family oriented person. So I honestly have no select genre that I love, but if I had to give you one, I'd say adventure slash horror.
Adventure slash horror. Okay. I know that the horror genre is very popular, especially in those 30-second TikToks where people are going through jump scares. So,
Yes.
all kudos to you. I don't know if I could ever play horror video
I'm an
games.
adrenaline junkie, so for me, it keeps my blood going. I love it.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Um, what is it about fashion that is intimidating for some folks? Because I hear you list fashion. I know for me, fashion is very intimidating, so I stick to a lot of like just plain clothing. But yeah, what does fashion mean to you, and how does that incorporate into your daily life?
Fashion is me being myself. So growing up,
Hmm.
I had, as soon as I got to college, not college, but high school, my mom said you're gonna get a job. So growing up, we didn't we were able to get certain things, but I wasn't able to get everything that I wanted and desire. I was not blessed to be able to, hey, you want this shoe? We're gonna buy off the shelf. No, sometimes I had to wait a year, or sometimes I just didn't get it at all. So for
Mm,
me, growing up, I honestly kept a big list of certain brands that I like. I for me, Supreme New York, that's always been a brand that I've loved. Also too, understanding how I want to present myself. So I really do love suits. I love cardigans. So if I'm gonna wear a suit and a cardigan, I need to have the right shoe to match with that. So in turn, I also learned that I do love Jordans. I could be stereotypical there, but for me, I am a big loafer guy. And to be specific, I like Doc Martin loafers. They have like a 1 inch heel on them, but it's just fashion for me because growing up, my music sense kind of molded me into who I am. So I like certain artists like Tyler the Creator or Jaden Smith, and they've always been open just to the fact that you can be yourself and you can express you unapologetically, no matter who is watching, because you might not even realize, but you're opening the door to somebody else to be like, you know what? Let me have that confidence to express myself however I want.
I like that. That's very cool. What is something that you learned about yourself this year?
For me, I learned that I can only rely on motivation for so long, and it really does take discipline to,
Mm,
change my life.
hmm.
I feel like there are moments where I didn't feel like showing up and where I felt very underwhelmed, but I had to keep going just for the job that had to be done. And it's really shown me that I'm more resilient than I gave myself a lot of credit for. So I'd say, being able to, be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and you can't stay the same and expect different results.
Hmm. So for you, that constant idea or the mindset to always change and keep it motivated. Otherwise, if you stay stagnant, that kind of just that falls flat, right?
Yes, understanding that you do have to keep everything moving at a certain point in time because life is going to keep going around you. Little do we realize, there's so much more life outside of just ourselves. We can't be selfish at certain points. You just be like, everything is going to go my way. No, sometimes you do have to go with what's going on around you. You have to be ever changing. So, I agree with you there.
How do you maintain that discipline, or what do you do to keep pushing forward? Because that could right for some folks it'd be like give up and just say, oh well, I guess it didn't work out for me, and then just stop. So yeah, how do you stay motivated or disciplined?
For me, I honestly think of my younger self when I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't have much hope for myself. Even when I look at how I graduated college, I didn't graduate, in the sense where, especially if you look at the job I have now, you see my degree, it's social
Hmm.
media marketing, but I work in
Hmm.
educational talent search. So there was a point where I was like, I can make any and every excuse in the world, but it's only words at that point unless I put it into action.
That's so
So
true.
I can wait and I can make these complaints, and I say that's for myself. I don't say this for everybody else. I look at it as myself. I can make every excuse in the world to stay stagnant and to be like, well, this is bad. This is what's going on. But in reality, I'm being my biggest enemy at that point. And when really I need to be my biggest supporter. So once I understand that, hey, I need myself more than anything, it's time to push and go forward.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that. Let's take a step back in time for a moment. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your family?
I love my family to death. I'm the youngest of four, and my closest sibling is 6 years older than me. So I was born in 2000. She was born in 1994. That's my sister Aaliyah. Then my brother Trey, he's right after. Well, he's before her. And then my oldest sister Jazz, she was born in 1990. I'm the children of Naomi Cunningham. Well, Naomi Cowherd. I'm sorry, Enrico Cunningham. But I come from a background where my parents always worked. But the guidance through the
Mm,
systems like higher education, it wasn't always clear. My family definitely instilled the values of you're going to go to school, but we didn't necessarily have the knowledge to understand what all goes into school. Understand, hey, it
mhm,
costs a lot. Find a degree, but I didn't understand what financial aid was. I didn't understand what certain loans were. But honestly, that's where Trio came in to help. And honestly, growing up like that, that's what fueled me now because I see a lot of students that I serve that are just like me. They don't have the certain guidance that I had. But that's where I look at myself and I always tell my students, I'm not your dad. If anything, because we're in such a closer range, look at me like a big brother. I
uh-huh.
just want to be a big brother guidance where you understand at any point in time, you can lean on my shoulder. But growing up, I was quite quiet and sheltered. Because with a big gap like that, there is a certain point where my siblings move out of the house and I'm just there in the house alone. But if we're
Mm,
gonna go back, that's whenever the video games and the fashion come in because once you have all that time on your own, you can sit, recalibrate, and figure out who am I in comparison to who were my siblings. And they
I
honestly
see.
played a lot of big impacts for me, and I will give them a lot of credit for raising me in certain points when my parents were at work. So if anything, that's what another reason why I say I will never forget where I came from because I have not gotten here on my own. I've always had a helping hand, whether it's parents, whether it is my siblings, whether it's teachers. I've always had a helping hand somewhere to help me in this process.
Absolutely. How would your family describe you?
They're gonna say I'm driven, but I'm pretty stubborn. Once I have my mind set on something, I'm stern. I don't give up easy at all. And
Mm,
if it doesn't go right one way, I'm gonna figure out another way to reroute it. But I would like to say I've grown a lot and I'm a lot more focused. But I'd say they'd say I'm very intentional and stubborn. It's because I know what I do want for myself in life. I want to be successful of some sort, no matter how it gets there. I want
mhm.
I want to change how you know we didn't have certain things growing up. We didn't have the luxury of having the nicest shoes all the time. My parents did make sure we had shoes. I won't sit here and take that away, but there were a lot of things that we didn't have in comparison to a lot of other people. So I just want to be more intentional.
Absolutely. What do you remember most about your early childhood?
Well, I'm gonna take some more on this one.
Yes, please.
I feel like if anything, being the youngest, because my siblings were harder on me, but I was very observant. I was really a fly on the wall. I paid attention to every little detail that they did. I watched how people moved. I watched how certain situations played out, how they worked, even if they didn't. But I even then I didn't fully understand it at the time, but I was always learning from my environment. It was always ever changing, and
Mm,
I would never, take that away. I wouldn't have it any other way. But that awareness always stuck to me, and that's why, I'm able to connect with my students because a lot of times when I didn't have the answers for certain situations and I just sat back and watched, I had the answers now whenever my students are like, I don't know what's going on. So it's like a full circle moment.
mm. Can you talk a little bit about that, about having that full circle moment for yourself and seeing it in your students and how you guide them through that?
One of the biggest things is I always tell them you're not alone, and I always make the point of saying I was in your shoes. Being able to let your students know that hey, you aren't alone, and I honestly let them know my personal stories and how I was growing up and raised, and then once they're like, there's a lot of times when I sit back in my room and I thought I was the only one who ever went through this. No, I went through this at a different time period, but I hate the fact that, you feel that way because it is a lot harder to speak up whenever you're younger. But that is the whole point of me being here. I have to be able to be vulnerable and I have to be able to pour into my students. So just always letting them know you're
Absolutely.
not alone. And I feel like if I would have heard that a lot more growing up from certain outside factors, it might have helped me, but I would never go back and change it. That's why I'm here today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you remember what you wanted to be when you were a kid? Like, I know a lot of folks would share, like, oh, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a firefighter, police officer, or I wanted to be a teacher. Do you know what you wanted to be?
I honestly, I would be lying if I told you I had something in mind. If there was one person who always stuck out to me, it was my grandfather. He passed away whenever I was in middle school. God rest his soul. But he was
I'm
a
sorry to
big
hear that.
music lover. He was, and this is where I start to understand like my music importance. He was big on jazz. A fun story is, and my grandmother will always tell me he would literally sit me on the dryer and he would just play jazz music. He'd be like, "Baby, I got my young boy in here listening to jazz." So his gentle soul, and you literally couldn't find any other man just like him. He was honestly 6'5", about 300 pounds. He wore a size 20, 20 shoe with a letter. He was large, but he had his chair right there. As soon as you walked in the house, a big brown suede chair, and he was just this big teddy bear. And it just understanding that you can be nice and you can be loving, and nobody can honestly know what's going on in your world because you don't let the outside factors show up in your face. So he was just a gentle giant, and if there was anything, I just want to be half the man that he ever was.
Wow. Can you share your experience about your early education, like elementary and middle school? What was that like for you?
My early education was a mix of emotions. It
Mm,
kind of started slowly, but the importance of it, I started to understand as a whole. At a younger age, you don't always see how the dots connect, but looking back, those years mattered a lot. Like I said, I was very quiet, sheltered. I wore hoodies a lot of the time just due to lack of confidence. I won't sit here and put on a front, but that's what honestly made me, as I got older, grow into the person where I can say I like fashion because all those times when I was younger, when I didn't have that confidence to let that exposure out, I didn't want to feel that feeling anymore. I didn't want to go back to the younger version of me who felt like he didn't have that voice. So I
mm,
wish people understood that whenever you're younger, those moments matter a lot because they also form you into who you are right now. Like those certain habits where it's like, huh, I just go out here in a hoodie because I'm not feeling it today. No, I will tell you in a heartbeat, I will put on a nice shirt, a nice jacket that's unzipped. I might wear some nice pants and my loafers, and then I'll be like, no, I'm not going to go out like I did when I was younger. I understood what that pain was like to feel like I'm scared. But like I
mm.
said, it makes me who I am today.
I love that. That's wonderful. When did the discussion for college happen for you? Was it always something like, I know you talked earlier about your parents and how, yes, they were very like supportive of a college path for you, but how did that conversation happen in terms of like, did you start seeing yourself going to college or was that a part of the plan?
So in my household, college was, like I said, it was always, the standard. It was always expected because my parents had always, out of all four children, they had always made it clear you're gonna do good in school, and then if that's the route you're gonna take it. But college for me, honestly, didn't become a true like understanding until I got to Upper Bound. And this is where my trio story begins because I want to always thank the Upper Bound staff, and specifically, I want to highlight these two women in my life because they played a bigger role in my life than I've ever expected. Miss Tammy Rifle and Miss Amy Cox, they were literally my mothers. And I mean it when I say like I would not have went to college if it wasn't for them. They kept me on my toes. Even though Upper Bound is a summer program, they stuck with me year round from the point A to point B whenever I exited. So I will always give the credit, and I'm not taking credit away from my parents at all, but I will always highlight the people who don't always get their flowers, and that is Miss Tammy Ruffle and Miss Amy Cox. I love them to death.
Wow. So you joining Upward Bound in high school really opened up that path to college. Uh, what did you like about the Trio Upward Bound program? What was enjoyable or what drew you to it?
So for me, I think one of the bigger things that I realized, so my family, we didn't take trips. We didn't have family trips. I wasn't blessed with that opportunity. But with Upward Bound, I realized that I could get rewarded just for trying in classrooms. Like they were able to, take us to Atlanta multiple times, the Universal Studios multiple times, and a lot of the times we would get extra trips if you excelled above and beyond, and if you received a certain award for being the highest student. And along with
Wow.
that, you get reimbursed. So it feels like, I'm truly getting rewarded just for being authentically me and being intelligent. So understanding that I could utilize my resources to benefit off of things that I never got to receive in life in terms of a trip. Upper Bound took me on my first ever plane. So I will
Wow.
always give thanks to the program that allowed me to have experiences that my family, even though they worked their butt off, they couldn't always provide me with a trip. We might go to Nashville, but Nashville, in terms of Paducah, may be an hour and a half. That's not far. And a lot of people might be like, that's not a trip. That was a family vacation for me. We took anything that we could. So Upper Bound
Hmm.
opened
Hmm.
doors, not only there, but they allowed me to get out of my comfort zone because like I said, I was very sheltered. So being around people, not being at home for weeks at a hand during the summer, it allowed me to get out of my comfort zone and get out of the shell of thinking, hey, you're gonna sit upstairs playing your video game all day. No, you're gonna be intentional. You're gonna get in these classrooms, sit in the front. You're gonna have fun whenever you're not in class. You're gonna be playing with your friends, playing basketball, then doing these fun activities. It was just me finally understanding at a young age. There's so much more life to me than outside of these four walls of my bedroom.
Oh, I love that. I think so. You hit on a great point here, where a lot of folks don't realize that trio programs really do assist students from not only rural areas but areas that are small and large. That students that have never been outside of their hometown and are able to see, right? You say outside of Nashville, outside of your own state of Kentucky, and those are the moments that stick with students because they really it opens up the world for them.
It really does. I've heard many stories where people are like, they have students and they're like, this is what a hotel is. And as many
Wow.
as surprising as people will be, we have to understand not everybody has the same resources as everybody else. Like for me growing
Right.
up, a trip for us, or not even a trip, but a getaway for us, my father sometimes he would rent a hotel room and we would stay in a hotel room and then we would go to the pool because we didn't have a pool. So to be able at that point to be able to go outside of the state limits of Kentucky, that meant
Hmm.
everything for me. And I know it might seem,
Hmm.
my more minuscule to some people, but for others, that means the world to us.
Absolutely. Oh, I totally agree. Talk about your transition into high school. What do you remember most about your first year starting there as a freshman?
Um, my freshman year was honestly about figuring things out, who I was and where I fit in. I was nowhere near locked in at all, but it laid the groundwork. I was still very much so quiet, trying to understand what I wanted to do. I hadn't yet joined any clubs outside of choir. I love choir for rare reasons, and I tell people all the time, in high school, you have to care about your grades. Choir was an easy A, but on top of an easy A, I also had a tuxedo. So it's like you have to
Oh,
utilize your
wow.
sources. So I have a
Yeah.
free tuxedo and I'm getting an easy A. I might have to
Mm.
sing. I might not have the best vocals. I will tell you that now. But there's so many different more like there's so many pluses outside of it. I think I did academic team that year as well. I played football. I tell people all the time, I played football, but I was never the best. I know plenty of people who were great athletes, great athletes. I can name them all on one hand. But just being able to say that I was around those people meant everything to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, in talking about school activities, what did you officially join as you progressed through high school?
So I have a array of things. So I was a part of student council my senior year. I was part of academic team, if I'm correct, 3 years. I wasn't the best. I might have been the cheerleader, but I will always tell people I was on academic team. I did choir. I think I threw shot put slash discus for maybe half a semester for track and field, but I did prime rib as well, which is a acapella group. So in my time there, as you can see, I was very much so focused in like choir and academic team, and I wanted to just be able to give these two people a shout out. Miss Christine Wynn, she was like my mom in terms of, and you'll realize that I have certain people that I attach to as moms because whenever my mom's at work. it's like you're always looking for that mother's love and somebody who can like keep you on the ropes and say, hey, you're messing up here, you're doing right. But Miss Christine Wynn, she actually had all of my siblings, every single one.
Oh
So
wow.
having me as the baby of the bunch was like having the last one. Okay, we're done with the Cunninghams at this point. And then I also want to thank Mr. Matt Hines because Mr. Hines, I don't even know if he knows, but he kept me going year after year. And honestly, I was in choir for all 4 years, and my last year I ended up doing AP Music Theory because I loved being in Mr. Hines' class that much. So it was very much so a full circle experience whenever I finished that class.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor.
Are you seeking guidance to enhance your TRIO project's effectiveness and success? Look no further. Nosotros Education Center, NEC, is here to empower your TRIO project with expert consulting services. NEC's mission is to promote the effectiveness and impact of TRIO programs. Since 2003, NEC has specialized in providing professional development and in-service staff trainings, allowable cost services, for TRIO projects across the country. The team at NEC, with over 60 years of combined TRIO experience, offers customized workshops and seminars for project staff, compliance assessments, external evaluations, working on and submitting APRs, database customization and training, developments of policies and procedures manuals, and project implementation or reorganization services. Additionally, NEC has secured over $774 million in federal funding with a 92% success rate through their live and on-demand proposal workshops, assistance with data collection and review, detailed technical reviews, and comprehensive proposal development services. Join the hundreds of colleges, agencies, and TRIO projects across the country who benefited from NEC's expertise. Nosotros Education Center, your partner in TRIO's project success. Visit their website at nosotros.edu.org. Again, that's nosotrosedu.org.
And now, back to the podcast. As you neared your senior year in high school, what was the discussion regarding college? Was it like increasing, intensifying for you?
It intensified in a lot of ways. It was really the deadlines and the decisions that I had to make that overwhelmed me because I honestly didn't know what school I had wanted to go to in terms of starting
Mm.
my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Also as well, I can say I didn't know how I was going to pay for school even when I graduated. But those conversations never stopped because, like I said, having Miss Amy Cox there and Miss Tammy Rifle, they were in my ear all the time. When are you going to apply here? When are you going to apply to Murray? When are you going to apply to the community college here? Just so you can have that as a backbone. Being open minded to any and all routes. That it was a lot, but it made it a lot easier in comparison to some people because you can know there are some people who wait until the summertime and they're like, you know what, I'm going to go to school. Well, not over here. And that's the plus of being an upper bound. They as soon as your senior year starts, they're expecting you to have your top 30.
Absolutely, absolutely. And speaking of school choices, what were your choices for school? Like, did you have a ton of options? I know for a lot of first generation trio students, it's a matter of like, well, it's a local school, so I'm going to go to that one because it's close. Or for some, it's like, you know what, I can't decide narrowing down these 10 schools. So what was that number for you?
I had three, and I will
Three.
let
Right
everybody
on.
know WKU was not my first choice at all.
Mm,
I
mm.
grew up a big Louisville Cardinal fan. Shout out my dad. But the thing with Louisville that strung me away, I didn't feel at home, and also the financial cost was insane. I couldn't afford it at all. But on top of that, the distance, I mind you, I did not want to be close to home, but it just felt a little far fetched for me. My second
Mm,
choice was
mhm.
WKU, and I will get onto that in a second. But Murray State was my last choice only because being an upper bound student for 4 straight years. So I started my freshman summer, then I went back sophomore, junior, and then my last year I did bridge after I graduated. So at that point, my bridge year, I took college classes separately from the rest of the group, like the freshman, sophomore, and junior years. So the seniors, we take college courses on campus.
Oh,
I was
that's right.
actually taking
Yeah.
two in comparison to some of my senior year colleagues. They might have took one. So it was double the workload, and then I had a lot of free time on my own. But it just felt like I had been at Murray for literally 4 years. And on top of that, my oldest two siblings, so Jazz and Aaliyah, they both went to Murray. And they might not have finished, but it seemed like I need to leave this school alone. It might not have the best track record with my family, and if I'm already
Mm.
bored with it, I don't want to just set myself up to be like, I'm tired of being here. I've been here for so long. So WKU was my second choice, and I will always highlight my sister Aaliyah in this point because I will never forget watching my sister move herself into school on her own, and she didn't want to go to Murray State. But she
Mm.
chose to go to Murray State. Her first choice was WKU. And I will never forget her telling me, follow your heart. If you want to go to WKU, take the chance, run with it, don't look back. And honestly, whenever I got on campus, because whenever I toured WKU for the first time, Upper Bound took us. As soon as I stepped off campus, I just said, this is the school. This
Yeah.
is the school right here, and it was
Wow.
2.5 hours away, so it was far enough away from home to where I guarantee you, I'm not just gonna say I want to go back home. No, I don't want to take the drive. And then it was also the
Yeah.
median between the two schools in terms of cost. So WKU, I knew straight in my heart that that was a school for me.
Wow. Can you talk about the moment you graduated from high school? What did this moment mean to you and to your family?
That moment meant everything for me because it was a lot bigger than me. It was a representation of like my family's progress and sacrifice for and honestly, me stepping into like this new role in life for myself. For my family, it was pride, and like my dad always says, I'm the last of the Mohicans. So they everybody saw their baby that they've seen from birth. All my siblings, they have vivid memories of me being born. All of them had a hand in me growing up. So honestly, it was just this excitement from not only my parents but from my siblings, and just saying like we all had a hand in this. I will never just accept something on my own. I never got here just on my own. They had such a pivotal hand in me growing up. It was just this overwhelming emotion of, hey, we all did this. This wasn't just Amante did this. We all made it.
That's wonderful. What did you do to prepare for your first semester in college at Western Kentucky University?
It was a lot of mental health preparation. You'll hear me say
Oh,
that a
really?
lot. Growing up, and having siblings who are older, you have a lot of time to just sit and think in your emotions. What are you lonely at this point? How do you feel? Do you feel comfortable? But I knew going to college was gonna like require a different form of responsibility and independence from me. So honestly, just building my self-confidence up on my own whenever nobody else could see it. So the entire time for me, from the point when I graduated in May until whenever I left in what, August, all of that time. So I did go to Upper Bound, but I had my own room. Since I was the only senior, I didn't have anybody else in my room. I was on my own a lot. So just building that confidence up and saying like you have to embrace being on your own now, because once you step out, this is what it's gonna be like now. Don't try to, outpsych yourself saying, hey, I'm always gonna have all these people in my corner. I'm just gonna be the life of the party. No, there's gonna be a lot of time down times where you're on your own. So if you can embrace this
Mm-hmm.
moment right now and understand what it's like now, you won't be surprised whenever it comes back and the moments get hard later.
Absolutely. Can you describe or talk about the moment you set foot on campus? What did this moment mean to you personally?
It was surreal, and it was honestly one of those moments that like slowed everything down, and I really did. I said, I made it. It felt like you didn't have to worry about the same stresses that I had in Paducah anymore. It was a brand new start. It honestly felt like the true start of who Amante Cunningham is. This is where I
Mm,
understand, and I
the
take all the
beginning.
groundwork from the past years. This is where it starts right now. All the hard
Mm-hmm.
conversations with
Mm-hmm.
Miss Rifle, my parents, my siblings, whenever they're saying you're gonna be on your own at some point, this is that moment. And to be able to sit here and say, I made it, instead of being like, I'm nervous, that's when I knew that, hey, you're gonna be okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How did you learn about the Trio Student Support Services program? Did they outreach to you first? Did you stumble on them? How did that happen?
I give all credit again to Upward Bound. You'll hear me say that a lot. I love giving credit where it's due, but Upward Bound did a amazing job in terms of handing their students off into the next program that they were going to, no matter if it was community college or Murray State, because even though you are an Upward Bound student and you, let's say you want to go to Murray State, you still have to understand that you're not an Upward Bound student anymore, but there is a next level of what Trio is for you. So they were very intentional on, hey, if you're an Upward Bound student, you need to meet whoever the source is for student support services. We're going to hand you off
Wow.
and meet them, and we're going to bring you there. So they were very intentional on saying, hey, we're going to take you to WKU. And honestly, I had two other girls there with me, and I call them my siblings. We stuck together. We started Upward Bound together, and we started college together. Their name is Tanaya and Kaya. I love them dearly. They are my sisters still to this day. Us three, we got off the bus with Miss Tammy and Miss Amy, and they walked us to SSS, the office, and that's where I met Mr. Chris George. That's my mentor, and they made us sign up for SSS. And as soon as we left, they said, "Welcome to WKU. You're one of ours." And at that point,
Wow.
it was the most relieving feeling because I felt like I had an upper hand on a lot of like freshmen who were coming in. I know who I can rely on whenever times get hard or where I just need this safe space. I can go to SSS, but there are some students who are like, I don't know where to go. But I will say I didn't accept the help from SSS immediately. It took some trial and
Mm.
error in terms of my first semester. Like I was under care verification, and they would be like, "Amante, come here." So it took time, but the handoff was seamless. It was easy.
I like how you referred to Trio SSS and how they helped you. Can you talk a little bit more about the things that they were able to help you with, or how they helped you in that transition?
Of course.
Sorry, and I asked that question as you were taking a drink.
No, no, that's on me. I took it late, but if I honestly can tell you now, I would not have graduated. And you'll hear that a lot. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a source of trio. For college, the source of Trio was SSS. So for those who don't know, there's a thing called care verification where they're going to basically verify all of your financial aid. They're going to every time. And
Yeah.
they're
Wow.
just they want to specifically know, is what you're saying truthful? And if it doesn't match up to what our database says, you must re-enter and you must try again, try again, try again, and we're going to withhold your financial aid. So for
Wow.
my entire first semester, I had no financial aid.
Oh, wow.
The workers at SSS, and I want to give all credit to Miss Marianne Boken. She worked diligently and she worked her butt off. I actually didn't get financially cleared until my second semester.
Wow.
So I didn't know if I was going to be able to come back, but in terms of that, we also had COVID, so it kind of helped. It kind of did help because then it's like, well, we can't force you to pay for the dorms. You're going to have to go home. Hey, I don't want to pay all that money anyways. But SSS, honestly, throughout my whole journey, after that point, I basically lived in student support services at the bottom of the
Oh, wow.
hill for the first 3 years of my college career. I will say towards my senior year, and at the end of my junior year, I did gear more towards working, trying to finish, finish my degree. And I was trying to, hey, I have an apartment. I have bills to pay at this point. So I can't be in there every day. But I lived in there and I embodied SSS. I'll never forget, we had a group and I was vice president of this organization with two of my fellow colleagues. One of them is actually a trio worker now, as well as me. Her name's Kiara Braxton Davis. And then there's another colleague that her name's Janasia Walker. We had a role in starting a group called Leaders for Life. And that was a SSS, it was like a subgroup in SSS. So being able to still work and create organizations and just utilize our resources. SSS also took me on trips that I will always be thankful for. So it just all hand in hand was a great program to be in. If you understood that you might not have had help, yes, you can rely on SSS, but in the same breath, you still need to work for them and help them as well. Don't just utilize your resources and forget where you came from. That's why I stayed in there all the time, because if you're going to be able to help me, the least I can do is dedicate my time to you.
Absolutely. Wow. Well said. What is your favorite memory of the Trio SSS program?
Um, Everything goes hand in hand. It's like okay, well, how'd you get here to Upper Bound? How'd you get here to SSS? But this is honestly the next step in terms of my professional career. This is where, if you ask me, this is where my professional career started. So we
Mm.
took a
Mm-hmm.
trip my senior year to Washington, D.C. And we ended up taking a stop at a place called COE, Council of Opportunity and Education. We went to the office there, and they actually have a big hand in Trio. They send out plenty of you know memos saying, hey, right now the big thing is they're trying to get people to advocate, 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 advocate. But there I had met a great, great, great man named Tommy Walls. And I'm like I said, you're gonna hear certain names and I'm gonna give them their due diligence and credit. Tommy Walls played a role not only in undergrad on that trip, but in my professional career. And that's why I say everything goes hand in hand. Excuse
Mm-hmm.
me. But Tommy was I felt a special connection with him. And I would never forget him. And I told myself, for some reason, I'm gonna need to utilize you and I don't know how, but I
Mm.
actually ended up utilizing him. But he gave me confidence not only as a leader, but as a young black man in a society right now where it's like you don't see many of us. You really don't. You don't see a lot of men in trio, putting their name out there. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
very
Mm-hmm.
few black men do that, and to see him as a director of alumni relations and career opportunities, that's big. That's very big.
Absolutely.
So Tommy
Absolutely.
instilled the fact that like if you have a dream, go after it. Don't let the color of your skin deter you away. Don't let any demographic deter you away from anything you want. Anything that you want is out there and you're able to receive it. So I just want to thank Tommy again, even though I might bring him up later. I know I might, but Tommy is that man. I promise you.
Wow. Can you talk about your college experience? What were your first years like for you? I know you said you started really being in Trio SSS, that it was pretty much your home. But talk about your college experience. What was that like for you?
I loved college. My first years in college were a mix of excitement and reality hitting a lot. Coming in, I knew that I had made it, but I didn't understand the severity and the emotional
Hmm.
turmoil that might come with it. Understanding that hey, you are out there, but in the same time, you are alone. Like
Mm.
whenever you go in that room, you have to rely on you to wake up every day, say, hey, we're gonna get this bread. We're gonna go up and go after it. So being able to rely on myself was the bigger challenge, but it helped out a lot. There were many learning comes. Time management. I wasn't the best at it, but over time, I ended up starting to realize I don't being on time is being late. I like to be early. I like to
Mm.
be at least 15 minutes early. I like to be the first one there. First one there, last one to
Hmm.
leave. Each and every time.
Hmm.
But like I said, it's different whenever nobody's checking on you day to day. I had moments where I really had to look at myself and say, "Do you want to do this or not?" But that's like I said, where the growth started for me, and I began to understand college just wasn't about being here and having a grand old time. You have to build the habits just like you did in high school, and just like you're going to do in every single phase of your life. And that's where discipline really started to come in hand. Because once you're on your own, you're just you have to stay consistent. You have to figure it out. And honestly, the years weren't perfect, but they were so necessary that I would never regret it.
That's awesome. And I really like how you're emphasizing like the discipline part of it. Like students really have to understand their own discipline style to really implement. Otherwise, yeah, you're going to get students that burn out and because they just and I attribute it to this is the consistency and discipline of being able to do it even when you don't want to do it.
It's just one of those things you got to think outside of yourself. And I
Oh,
think
100,
a lot of
yeah.
times I
Yeah.
would say if I'm not gonna do it, somebody else is, and I don't want it to be somebody else. So if I don't want it to be
Oh,
somebody else, I have to do it. It's just that simple for me. And it might suck. It might take me 30 minutes to say I have to do this assignment, but it got done.
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you know what you wanted to major in as soon as you stepped foot in college, or was that a process for you?
My major experience was it was weird because my major aligned with me wanting to go to Louisville because Louisville is a big engineering school. So whenever I first started school, I wanted to be a computer science engineer. But I will never forget my first day in the class. I had a teacher that I couldn't really understand, I couldn't connect with, and as soon as I left the classroom, I said, "No, I know this isn't for me." But in
Mm.
terms of my major, I had to connect a lot of dots to figure out, okay, this is my first semester. I know if I don't take this career path, I might have to restart all of my credits. So, okay, so if you're going to restart your credits, what is going to be the next step for you? And honestly, I had to connect a lot of dots. So growing up in Paducah, as you know, I love fashion. And in terms of fashion, I used to resell shoes a lot because now that I have a job, I can buy these shoes. And if I don't like this shoe, I have to get this shoe off in order to refund myself that money. And plus some of the time that I just wasted sitting here watching collect dust. So with the
Hmm.
resale business, you have to have a lot of things, but credibility is everything. And you have to be able to market. So with credibility to your name, you don't want to
Yes.
be known as somebody who has, unauthentic products because, in the resale business, there are a lot of fake shoes out there and they don't hold the same amount of reliability and quality as the next. So if I'm able to let people know, hey, you can get this shoe from me at a great price, at a great reasonable time, I can promote this as well. That's whenever I was like, I'm a businessman and I know how to market. Okay, well, if I'm able to rely on myself and I can put my own product out there, okay, that's one step. But in the same breath, I was like, what is something that's going on in this world that is not going away? And I feel like one thing that we can all say, it's social media. Social media is everlastingly growing. So I
Oh my gosh,
connected the
yes.
two dots and I was like, if I'm able to market and if I'm able to promote myself and I realized marketing isn't going, well, social media isn't going anywhere. WKU has a really good business program. I'm just going to put all my eggs in one basket and I'm going to dive in with social media marketing. And it did help because throughout my college career, if I didn't have money, I guarantee you can guess what I did. I've resold shoes. I resold any of the things I had. I have no problem, if I hold no meaning to this shoe and if I don't wear it, I have to give it somewhere that's going to be utilized in that moment instead of collecting dust. I have no meaning for it. So whenever times got rough, I had no problem doing that. And we talked about video games. I had bought at least two PlayStation 5s during my course of my college career, and I sold both. The one I have
Whoa.
now I actually got outside of school, but my gaming PC I built in school that wasn't going anywhere. It cost too much money to build, but just being able to resell and understand that I am an entrepreneur and I can promote myself and I'm reliable. So at that point I said, you know what, I'm gonna put all my eggs in one basket and be a social media major, well, a marketing major with a concentration in social media.
Wow. So that's how that happened for you, is really combining marketing and social media and really combining those things that you're uh, evidently very clear, very skilled at.
Yes, sir. I think for me, I want to be very intentional. And if I ever, have certain, pluses that I can be like, hey, I actually like this. I do. I like making money and I like being able to help somebody else out with something that they love. And if shoes are gonna make you happy and if it's honestly not giving me any value, I'm going to sell it. There's no reason for me to hold it at this point whenever I can utilize it for its betterment.
Now, entering this major or being in this major, did you have a specific career in mind? Like, did you know where this path was headed for you?
No. I honestly had, and this is just like me when I graduated high school. I didn't have any thought in mind. I knew I wanted to be successful and make an impact, but I didn't know where I was gonna go. I honestly was scared because I had kind of a few feelings that I wanted to work in trio, but understanding that my degree wasn't in education of any sort, it kind of shied me away sometimes. But
Mm.
I think once I had graduated, it kind of did set in that, hey, you are a trio baby through and through, and all you ever talk about is trio, so you need to stick with trio. That's whenever I realized, I wanted to stick, and that was my career in mind. But I had no clue until I graduated.
Wow. What sort of jobs did you take during your time as a student? Did you, because from what you shared earlier, is that on your final senior year, junior senior year, you started taking in more jobs, really focusing on bills, making sure that you were ready to transition from one thing to the next. So, yeah, what sort of jobs did you hold as a student?
Um, I tell people all the time, whenever you're in college, you should humble yourself. And I didn't have the luxury of having certain internships. I actually worked in like regular jobs. there was a stint where I worked at the actual UPS store during one of my last few years in Bowling Green. I worked at a FedEx warehouse as well. So those are two fast-paced environments, but people aren't just gonna be like, "Well, you worked here and then you led yourself to a trio job." Yes, I did, but the job that stuck with me the most is probably the most unique job. I was a pizza cook at Mellow Mushroom for a year, and the people there that I interacted with, they not everybody went to school. I think there were only like 3 to 4 different college students, but outside of that, there
Mm-hmm.
were grown individuals, and honestly, their stories about how college went for them drove me to say, "I'm gonna finish school, but I'm also gonna get out. I'm not gonna stay here because hearing certain people's story where they're like." I wish I would have used my degree rather than just staying here complacent, making the money. I don't want to be money driven at some point. I want to actually like have an intention and have a thought like I want to make an impact somewhere with these students. So understanding and hearing those stories humbled me a lot. And I tell people all the time, don't be nervous about your friends seeing you in some piece of warehouse job or any of that. If you're able to pay your bills and if you're able to just, feed yourself, because there were times where I didn't have money to eat in school. My job was feeding me.
Oh,
My job
yeah.
was feeding me. I had countless
Right,
times
right.
where I didn't have food in college. I would quite literally scrape up change just to buy a pack of cup noodles. So
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
job filled me up with so much love and care outside of just financially. It gave me the support and people who were being humble and vulnerable enough to tell me their stories out of humility, but also in the same breath, they were feeding me. So they were doing so much more than just providing me a job. They were providing me with actual care and love.
Right on. As you reflect on your college years, can you tell me what was running through your mind in your final year in college? What were your thought processes? What were some of the things that you were reflecting on?
Um, Honestly, I'm gonna go a little off of what you're probably gonna think I'm gonna say.
Oh no, yeah.
I
Go
actually
for it.
I actually was my last year was hard. I compared and contrasted myself a lot in comparison to others because, like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Yeah, I'm gonna get this
Hmm.
degree, but I'm having all these friends. I got this job here. Once I'm done, I got this job here, and I'm just sitting here like I work at a pizza restaurant. I don't
Hmm.
know what my next steps are. Whenever I leave here and I walk across that stage, I'm still banking on going into Mellow Mushroom to clock in and make the next pizza for the people who need it on a Saturday evening. So, my last year of school was honestly that reality check of you need to get your stuff. You need to get your stuff together like now. And
Yeah.
because if not, you're going to be in the same shoes as the people that you're trying to learn from. And if anything, they tell you all the time, we want you to be better. So my senior year was a lot of reflection and it was a lot of understanding of I can't go back to this. I can't. We're going to move forward and we're not going to stay stagnant. And we said that earlier, understanding that you can't stay stagnant in these moments. You had to push through and you had to have that discipline to say, hey, this does suck, but this is not going to be my end all be all.
Right. So it's almost like having a mindset of like there's a plan after this.
Yes, there really is.
Talk about the moment you graduated from WKU. What did this moment mean to you personally?
This now, I'll say out of any accomplishment I have, graduating WKU is probably the most important one for me. I'm actually a true first generation low income student, so being able to say I was the first in this moment, I don't want to be cocky, but like it was like wow, I really set a standard for my family, and it was bigger than just walking across the stage. It represented every challenge that I had did, every doubt that I had in my mind up until that point, every moment where I thought I really couldn't get this done, but I worked my way up to this point through commitment and determination. And for my family, like I said, it's always pride, but for me, it was such a bigger accomplishment and hunger because I was proud of what I did, and I also knew that I was going to finish it. But in the same breath, it was also healing for all the moments of because I'll be honest, I had depressive moments and all those moments where I didn't want to even keep going. It was like you're healing that wound that nobody else saw in the dark. But you finally found that
Mm-hmm.
light at the end of the tunnel because you didn't stop running. You kept going.
Wow. I really like that what you said just a little bit ago that you truly are right as you're going through the degree, you've had all these experiences, the ups and downs, But what you said just a second ago was healing from the things that people aren't seeing, and you're doing it alone. That was sorry, that was like very profound, and it just kind of hit me.
No, I appreciate you because I feel like, we don't give light a lot into the fact that we don't always see what everybody goes through. I feel like sometimes we're blind to that. I feel like sometimes people
Oh,
only take
100%.
what they see as word is bond, and that's not it. We have 24 hours in a day, and nine times out of 10, you might only see 2 to 3 hours out of that. And if that's the case, that means there's 21 more hours where you didn't see all the struggle and the hard work and determination that they put into that. So we really should start giving light into the fact that we don't know it all, but for the times where nobody else saw it, you should be proud that you stuck through to that moment.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Appreciate
Once you
you.
graduated, you landed a job as a program coordinator for the Trio Upward Bound program at Kentucky State University. Can you talk about that experience while you were there?
Of course, first and foremost, and like I said, I always give thanks and credit where it's due. I want to thank Miss Kim Govering because she took a chance on a young man without any work experience to my name. And mind you, I don't have a education degree. So I want to thank her for believing me. But the experience was a lot for me because I had a hand in a lot of different things at my time at Kentucky State, but working with Trio Upper Bound students who were honestly just like me growing up, it was
Mm,
it was the biggest full circle moment because you're
absolutely.
asking yourself a lot. Was I like this as a kid behind doors? But also in the same breath, I did a
Yeah.
lot with this job. I had my hand in tutoring, so there were times where I would pick up the students on Tuesdays and Thursdays every day, and I would pick them up from the schools. And then I would sit there and monitor them while they tutored. Saturday sessions. There are plenty of Saturday sessions where you're just going in. It's grueling work, and I feel like for me, Kentucky State University was the moment where because moving from Bowling Green to Frankfurt on my own, I ended up buying my first car there. I had my first own apartment there. It was truly a lot of you're doing it on your own. This, I would say, being at Kentucky State University was the hardest point in my life. Only because, like I said, I felt alone. I felt like I didn't know who was really there for me in that moment. But being able to say now on the other side that I made it through, I will never take that back. I would do it over again, and I wouldn't change anything about it because the talks with Miss Kim Govering, where she's like, "You're gonna be something." She would tell me all the time, "You're gonna be something." We might have butted heads, but it was because the love that she had was it was truly like a mother son aspect. But in the same breath, sometimes that mother son aspect in this job can be hard because it's like, man, we're all we got, but hey, we still need a little bit more help. So
Yes.
having her there, I just want to always say thank you to her because she truly did shape me to be the person that I am right now. I really can say that.
That's awesome. You then transitioned to your latest role. Congratulations, by the way, as the program coordinator for the Trio Educational Talent Search program. What inspired or motivated this change for you?
First off, I just want to say thank you that because I can say now at this job I've never been happier than ever, but I wanted to grow and make a broader impact outside of myself. And I also wanted to expand my educational career. I felt like I had learned a lot in my previous role, but in the same breath, I did feel like I was becoming a little bit stagnant. There was a lot of workload, but I had almost no time to truly like focus on what I needed to do in terms of growing as my own individual in trio. But this position right here at EKU allows me to, expand my advocacy, expand my reach, and also develop as a professional. Professional development is very big and being able to, work around I work with what four great colleagues. Mark, Dara, my boss Andrea, and my coworker George. Dara, George, and Andrea have all worked in trio. Dara works, she used to work in Gear Up. George and Andrea have been in talent search for well over 7 years. So for me, this is a experience where I don't necessarily have to do a lot of work. I can actually like sit back and watch my colleagues and listen to their stories. And now I can mold myself based off of the experience that they have, but also with the experiences that I'm having myself right now. It feels a lot more relaxed and it feels like I'm truly starting to get the nitty gritty of, okay, this is trio. This is how trio works. It feels amazing. And I can sit here and say, I wake up every day ready to go to work. I'll
That's
drive
awesome.
45 minutes to work. And when I tell you that is the fastest 45-minute drive ever, I love it to death. And
That's
I just
awesome.
feel like for all the times where I might not have felt the best about my previous positions. I don't take this one for granted. I love it. And I let everybody know that not only do I work at a great place, I work around some of the best trio workers I have ever listened to. Their stories go further than just EKU. They have broader stories than that. And they're great people. And I'm not knocking anybody in the past. They've been great people as well. But I can just honestly say I'm happy here and I really do love it.
You serve as an inspiration for first generation students, Amante. I just want to let you know that your story, your journey truly serves as a just yeah, as an inspiration because seeing how far you've come, seeing the things that you've done and you're currently doing, definitely inspirational and definitely a role model for students.
I appreciate you so much. And I honestly, I could say on my end, I want to give you your credit because I don't think
Oh, thank you.
everybody understands how hard it is to, in this day and age, how hard it is to get people to vocalize their trio stories. You are giving us a platform to just feel vulnerable. Just this feels like a true, genuine conversation that I can't have this conversation with some people face to face. So for you, especially in times like this where it is very serious, you deserve all your credit. I really want you
Oh,
to
I
know that
appreciate that.
because
Thank you.
allowing us to feel vulnerable enough to even speak on behalf of our stories, you deserve your flowers. You really do.
Amante, thank you so much. And it's an honor to be featuring your story. This is a platform built for Trio alumni. Being a Trio alumni myself, I know that it's important to continue elevating voices. But having in that theme of being a role model and you being inspirational, what advice do you have for Trio students, whether they're in college, high school, or thinking about going back to college? Yeah, what advice do you have?
You literally have to take advantage of any and every opportunity in front of you. Trio is truly a program where people I hear it to this day, especially like when I go back home, they're like, I wish I would have did upper bound. And I'm like, huh? Well, you had the same opportunity and chances as me, but they were too focused elsewhere on having fun. On top of that, you have to ask questions and you have to build relationships. I feel like what's amazing with my journey is so this past fall we had fall conference and we call it Tennessee. It's Kentucky and Tennessee. We combine our fall conference. And my boss Andrew, she was like, "There's a lot of people who know you." I'm like, it's literally because I'm a trio baby. So now I'm in the same spaces as the people who were over me. And now they're able to let people know this is who Amante is. And just having these full circle moments is just like, once you stick with a program and you don't even know this is going to become your life, this is going to become your job, your day-to-day lifestyle. It's so fruitful and it's so refreshing to know that like for all the times I didn't know what my job was going to be, it was always in front of my face. I just had to actually open my eyes to see it. Like this is the
Absolutely.
best thing ever. But you don't have to have everything figured out, but you do have to be willing to try. And I feel like I'm the definition of that because and whenever people hear this story, they're gonna be like, he didn't know what he was gonna do in terms of his major. He didn't know what he was gonna do in terms of his job. He didn't have internships. He didn't know what he was gonna do financially. So how did he end up here? I didn't give
Hmm.
up. I didn't settle, and I also want to give thanks to the man upstairs for guiding me through all of this. But I honestly didn't stop at the bare minimum of just being like, well, I don't know what I'm gonna do, so that's it. So don't limit yourself, and also the bigger thing, never forget where you came from, but where you come from does not define where you're gonna go. I'm a small kid from Paducah, Kentucky, and I might not go home, but I take it with me everywhere I go, and I will never be ashamed of my city because I can go back home right now, and all of my friends, no matter if they went to school or not, I look at them exact same as I look at myself. They are my brothers, my sisters, they're my family, all of my friends and family. But you. It's up to you in terms of what you want to do in life. And like I said, that discipline, that determination, I don't know where it came from. I'll give my parents the credit for sure. But just understanding that, like, it's up to you. You don't have to settle for the bare minimum or what you're used to. This is your life. Take control because you got to stand up for you first.
I love that. Wonderful advice. What about advice do you have for trio professionals who are listening to this podcast?
Um, I think one of the bigger things is you can't lose sight of the impact. It's so easy to get caught up in saying, I need to get these numbers, or I had to turn in this report, or thinking of all these words that come with the job, especially in this state where they're trying to basically switch the narrative of what they want in Trio. And I want people to be aware of that. Don't get caught up in the drama. You had to be consistent, you had to be genuine, and you had to be present. Your students always tell when you care. They're always watching at every
Wow.
single
Yeah.
point, because even right now, so like I said, I had reposted a video, and then I had shown some of my students. They were like, man, you really like care for us enough to like speak on behalf of your platforms. Yes, because this is bigger than me. Like I'm just like you. Also continue to grow yourself. We and I tell people this all the time. You don't know yourself 100%. You grow every day. You grow 1% every day. You quite
Mm,
literally do. So the more
like
that
that.
you develop, the more that you can pour into others. And this work is important, so show up when it matters. But if anything, I want Trio staff to do this. Be the voice for the students who don't have one. That's the bigger thing. Advocacy is the most important thing right now, and it's at an all-time high. But that doesn't just go to Trio staff. I want this to also resonate with Trio alumni. This goes deeper than just a staff's point of view. We have put so much time and effort in terms of the hard work in Upper Bound or the hard work in SSS. So all that time when you were so young, and now you're in this world to where you can make the impact. How could you just forget all the help that you just had? How? And
Absolutely.
that
Yeah.
just goes back to me saying, how can you forget where you came from? That doesn't do you any due diligence, or the people who've just put all this time and effort in. We have to utilize our voices now more than ever. And it doesn't matter how, repetitive it gets. It doesn't matter how annoying it gets. I will be as annoying as ever. I can have a red horn on my nose, honk. I'm gonna keep replaying the same message to you until you understand that I'm serious.
Yeah.
But your voice is so much bigger than you understand. Even if you reach one person is better than keeping it on your own.
Absolutely. I agree. Before I pivot to this next question, I really wanted to take a moment to reflect with you about the recent it feels like to me whiplash moments with the U.S. government and funding TRIO programs. The latest kind of switch, if you don't mind me using kind of that terminology for talent searches, it looks
Of
like the
course.
program is changing, or that they want to change the program.
Yes, so for me, and I think this goes deeper than just an aspect of talent search. I can speak on behalf of my trio story. I think so. Last year when I went to spring conference at Murray State, they started to talk about how there were going to be changes to Upper Bound, and it started to hit me once I realized that my Upper Bound program back at home. So you got to think, this is my foundation. They took my program away. And the thing is, I started to understand why and how they were doing that. I won't get into the logistics of that, just due out of, respect to those people. But once I realized that they were willing to take away a program who not only served a big minority group, but they served the whole Jackson Purchase area of Kentucky. They also serviced the Northwest Tennessee area and the Southeastern boot of Missouri. That's
Hmm.
three areas that you just took away help. That's
Mm,
insane to me. But in terms of
yeah.
talent search, it's to me, it seems like, Trio has always been focused on either college access or getting people into, whatever they want in terms of education. It seems like more and more with the government, they're just gearing more towards wanting people to go into the workforce, which if that's what you want to do, cool, but you shouldn't have to manipulate and switch these programs around who've built their core foundation on allowing those who didn't have that access to get into school. Now you're stopping them from having that focus. So
Hmm.
for me, it seems like they're just gearing more towards people wanting to go into the workforce. But if they did their actual research, they would understand we already do that. So now, if you're
Hmm.
going to put that as the main forefront, you're just changing the whole direction and narrative of what Trio is. And respectably so, if you aren't in these shoes to understand what it's like to not even have that access, how are you going to switch everything that I need? That's not fair.
Hmm.
But what
Hmm.
I will tell the people is this. there are some things you can do in order to switch this narrative around. For one, figure out who your U.S. representative and senator is. That's where you need to start. Once you figure out who your representative is for the House and Senate, contact them. Let them know your story. And I mean, call them. Call them. Yes, you can get their number and you can call them. Let them know your story. And 9 times out of 10, if it hangs up, that's not going to be the end of us. You know why? Because we got a voicemail. We got a voicemail. We can let them know in our voicemail. But guess what? If your message is too long from there, it's not it. Because guess what? There's an email and they can't get away from you. Don't settle for the bare minimum. I just gave you three different routes. You can call them, you can send a voicemail, you can send an email. But all in all, it's just about trying to just let them know I'm a trio student. This is what it did for me, and this is what it did for my students. If you are alum, if you are a staff, even if you are a student, now is the time more than ever to stand up for what you love and deserve. Because coming from somebody like me, my program, you hear my story, you hear how it started with Miss Tammy Rifle and Miss Amy Cox and the upper bounds. And there's so many more staff that I'll give more love and credit to. But the two women that molded me, they don't they don't get to serve the kids who need them. They don't work it. There's no upper bound math science at Murray State. So now is the time more than ever that you need to stick up, because I promise you, you don't want to be in the position like me to where I'm using that fuel of seeing my two mothers, my two upper bound mothers, they are my fire. Like, I kid you not, my Miss Tammy Rifle. So I told you I made a video in terms of letting people know there's a lot of sideline watchers. Y'all say y'all want to help, but y'all really don't. She actually commented and she said, "I'm proud of you for using your voice." Seeing that and seeing that stamp of approval, even though she doesn't work in trio, she doesn't have a trio job, that meant the world to me and let me know that I'm doing the right thing. If you have any source of using, hey, it doesn't matter if it's Facebook, because I've posted on Facebook and I've had at least 10 plus reshares of stories there. Even likes mean everything, because if somebody's liking it here, that means it's going to pop up on somebody else's feed and then they're going to see it. So I've used Facebook as a way to reach out. LinkedIn, I have almost a thousand connects. Now, mind you, not all 1,000 connects are gonna utilize it or react. No, but at least they're seeing the message there. I kid you not, I think I have like 5 reactions. But I thank all
Wow.
five of
Yeah.
those reactions more than anything, because they didn't have to. And then I posted on Instagram, like I said, a video of me being raw and uncut. If you're gonna help, help. But if not, stop faking like you are. I'm very much so serious in terms of my intentionality with this. And like I said, if you don't like what I'm saying, you can talk to me one on one. We can always be rough and uncut with it, because I wouldn't be here without Trio. So how are you gonna sit here and diminish the work that is done? We won't do that over here. And guess what? I ended up getting, if I'm correct, 250 different likes. I had at least over 100 reshares in terms of people like resharing it and it'll pop up on somebody else's feed. But then people, I think I had 100 reposts. So if you're asking
Whoa.
me, that's 400 different, like just on Instagram alone, that's 400 different ways that somebody's going to see that. Don't
Hmm.
settle for the bare minimum, because there's so many different ways that you can get the word of Trio out there. Utilize your resources.
I love that. Thank you, Amante. I think people need to hear that, right? When we're advocating for
Yes.
Trio and we're speaking about the great things that Trio does, people should use every channel possible.
Definitely.
Do you have mentors or advisors you would like to recognize on this podcast?
Of course. This is my favorite part, and this is probably gonna be the longest one. I'm gonna quite literally give credit to everybody who's had a hand in my step of the way. So first, we are gonna start at the foundation. So these names that I'm going to name right here are people who have helped me from Murray State, whether it is or isn't upper bound. These are some people who are talent search. They've had other different orgs, but they helped mold me at Murray State. So of course, first and foremost, the big three who helped me: Miss Tammy Rifle, Miss Amy Cox, and Dr. Stephen King. Oh, I love them three. Miss Audrey Neal, I love her to death, and Miss Melissa Cooper. Now, those are my big five in terms of my start of my trio journey. And I'll never forget. So Miss Audrey Neal and Miss Melissa Cooper, they started being more into my life my senior year. But Miss Audrey Neal, her daughter was actually my RA for my last year for
Oh
my senior
wow.
year. So it was
Yeah.
kind of like her daughter was amazing. Like she helped me. She made my bridge year so seamless. But those five right there, and to be able to see like Dr. Stephen King, he's been the president of Kentucky Trio at a certain point. So seeing him, he's like, yeah, Monte's one of my children. He doesn't say children, he says children. He's from the South. He's from Louisville, so he got a little slang to him. So he's one of my children, and I'll never deny the help that all five of them did. They are my foundation. Now we go into the aspect of the pivotal years of the college. So these I think it's five. So we're gonna start off with Miss Nisha Shaw. She was my advisor who honestly, she was the one sending me the email saying you need to come in for care verification. And I ended up joining a fraternity, and even during that, she was my mom. Then I call her my pledge mom because she helped me throughout that process as well. So we have Miss Nisha Shaw. This guy right here, this is he's my goat. He's my trio goat, and Mr. Chris George. Um, he's from the same area as me. He's from Caldwell County, but understanding where he's from and to understand the success that he's had, all you can honestly do is just give him his flowers. He's had his hand in SAOP. He's had his hand in COE, and he's also been a president in terms of Kentucky Trail. So to hear you be on all three of those e-boards in some kind of way, you have to be doing something right. Like you really do. So we have Chris George, Miss Mary Ann Boken. She, as you know, she helped me with my verification. I wouldn't have even had financial aid if it wasn't for her. And then these last two names. So these two women, they are the reason why I ended up getting able to meet COE. Miss Marlise Belt and Miss Destiny O'Rourke, actually just seen Miss Destiny O'Rourke at the Tennessee conference, and we take a picture every time. I just love her to death. She gave me a book my senior year. They, during my last year, they helped me understand that, hey, don't be nervous at the fact that you might not know what you want to do, but you're gonna make an impact. You mean
Hmm.
something. So during my
Hmm.
last few years, the first three names that I gave is Nice Shaw, Chris George, and Marianne Boken. They were the beginning of the college career. But these last two, they were the ones who were like, hey, you got this. You mean something. Use your voice. You're gonna be something. That is my WKU landmark. So now we are going to get into my professional career. And I want to just thank Travis Harden, Kiara Braxton Davis first, because actually, as whenever I didn't actually graduate on time, I was supposed to graduate in 2023, but Mr. Chris George, he actually let me work with him for a year under his belt, and I actually ended up getting my degree with his help. That's why I say my journey's it was never easy. So I actually worked alongside Kiara Braxton Davis and Travis, and like I told you, me and Kiara had the Leaders for Life group. So I'm working with these two like-minded individuals, and I love them to death. Anytime I see them, oh my goodness, they are my family. They are literally my family. So I want to give them credit. Next is Tommy Walls. So Tommy, honestly, he deserves credit because whenever I was at Kentucky State, I told Tommy, I said, I want to make an impact, but I don't know where to start with my trio world. And he said, you know what? Give it time, and I'm gonna get back to you. Without Tommy's help, I wouldn't be I'm literally a advisor for the National Trail Alumni Society because of Tommy. Um, I'm an advisor with those who have master's degrees, who are doctors, who have had stepping stones in trail. And I'm just sitting here like, there's little old me with this with this bachelor's, but hey, thank you, Tommy. And it's just like, Tommy, I don't think you understand the help that you've given me. I really do love and appreciate you. And then this little lady right here, Miss Kim Goring. We might have butted heads, but she was, like I said, she was my mom whenever I didn't have nobody else at Kentucky State. And there was a lot of times where she humbled me, and the humbling might not have been the easiest, but I'm one of those hard-headed individuals where it's not, sometimes you had to screw it in a little tighter to understand. And then lastly, I want to give a special shout out to my entire EKU Talent Search staff. So Miss Andrea, Miss Dara, George, Mark. they are my why every single day when I go into the office. I love them dearly. I honestly do. I love them dearly. They make my life so much easier. And like I said, I know this was lengthy, but one thing that people should always realize, don't be afraid of the time length and just because you have a lot of people to give their credit to. You need to give people their flowers while they're here because I would hate to not be able to give them their flowers when they're gone. I've been there before. So while they're still alive, I'm going to give them all the appreciation and care because I would not be in this spot talking to you right now if it wasn't for all of them.
Wow. Amante, beautifully said. Using
Thank you.
only one word, describe yourself.
I think we might know this. Well, it's between one or two, yeah. But I'm gonna say driven. I'm very much so
Driven.
driven. Like I feel
I
like
like that.
if there's one thing people can understand from me, I don't make excuses for myself. I might be hard on myself, but one thing that I can say, I'm gonna get the job done. I'm driven.
Absolutely. What is something that you are reading, watching, or listening to?
So I'm not that big of a reader, but I'm a big like sports fanatic. I'm a true
Oh,
authentic fan of two different teams. I
okay.
don't
Okay.
bandwagon. I don't just say, hey, I like this person and this person. No, I've been a Phoenix Suns fan since I was little, but also on top of that, I'm a New Orleans Saints fan. Who that? So for me,
Wow.
I
Wow.
love growing up watching Drew Brees, Alvin Kamara, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, Marshawn Lattimore, all of the Saints. Whenever from I think 2017 up until recently 2022, we had a great run. But here recently, we've been in one of our down years. Phoenix Suns, I've been loving them for a while, ever since Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, Steve Nash,
Wow.
even Jason Kidd at certain points. But we had a finals run, so really my favorite player right now in terms of Phoenix Suns is Devin Booker. And what I like about Devin Booker is he's loyal. He's been with the team ever since, if I'm correct, 2012. Not 2012, but
Wow.
like 2013 or 14. So he honestly, it's crazy as it seems, he lets me know, hey, stick with one thing and run with it. But more importantly, I'm a music lover, and that goes back to my grandfather. And as you can tell, I love like recircling back to where my story began. But without him, I wouldn't have the ear for music that I have right now. So I really do. I'm a music lover.
That's wonderful. Amante, thank you so much for being on this podcast, for sharing your trio journey with us. If you look at the time right now, it's 7:30. Who knew that this time would fly by so fast as it did?
Definitely.
I'm looking at the time right now. I'm like, how did an hour and a half already pass us by? That was wow. Thank you
Yes.
so much for sharing your story. I hope to have you back on again soon so you can continue talking about trio.
Anytime you need me back, I will always come. It doesn't matter the time. Like I said, I'm 2 hours ahead, and like I'm sitting here looking like, how is it already 9:30? Like what? That's crazy to me. But I truly love and appreciate this platform, and for me to be watching as long as I have, this means the world to me because you do great work and you are a trio pioneer. I don't. You might not see it yourself, but I'm telling you, you are because you allow
Amante,
us
thank
to
you.
speak
Thank
on
you.
behalf of what we love and what we breathe every day. You deserve your flowers, and this is just amazing. Keep going, and I will always support.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. We have a tradition on the Let's Talk Trio podcast where we have the guests sign off. Do you care to do the honors?
Oh, I got you. I got you. So, hey, everybody, this is Amante Cunningham. I am alum of Trio Student Support Services and Upward Bound Math Science, as well as a graduate of Western Kentucky University. I graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Social Media, Marketing, Social Media in 2024. And I currently serve as the program coordinator of Eastern Kentucky University's Educational Talent Search. Stay focused, stay disciplined, trust the process, but most importantly, everybody must know Trio works.
Are you a participant, alum, or staff of a trio program? Do you want your program highlighted? You or your program could be featured in an upcoming episode of Let's Talk Trio. Get a hold of us by going to our Facebook page or Instagram and send us a direct message. Search for Let's Talk Trio. We want to get your story to the public.
You just heard from our guest, Amante Cunningham. Thank you, Amante, for being on the podcast and sharing your trio journey. Remember, if you would like to be on the Let's Talk Trio podcast or know a staff, advocate, participant, or alumni, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. LaMaster.com. A heartfelt thanks to our individual supporters: Angelica Vialpando, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jeff Nepute, Angelica Valdez, Rosario Riley, Felicia Rivera, Eric LaMaster, Jeff Kahlden, Rick Martinez, Don BlueSky-Hill, and Jaded Electronics. Thank you to our corporate sponsors: TrioJoblist.com, NOSOTROS Education Center, Longsdale Publishing, StudentAccess, and TheTrioStore.com, powered by Proforma. Visit www.thetriostore.com, your source for Trio graduation stoles. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can sponsor the Let's Talk Trio podcast in one of three ways. Become a monthly patron on Patreon. Our base level starts at $1 a month. Become a corporate sponsor by placing an ad on the podcast. Contact us for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast business PayPal account. Our business handle is at Let's Talk Trio. I'd like to take a moment to thank our honorary members of the Let's Talk Trio podcast: Roderick Chambers, Tony Ho, Scott Kendall, and Susan Cramp. The Let's Talk Trio podcast team is John Russell, audio engineer, music producer and composer, and post-production editor. Amelia Castaneda, script supervisor, marketing manager, social media manager, and producer. Juan Rivas, executive producer and host. Be sure to follow Let's Talk Trio podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. This episode was recorded on Thursday, March 26th, 2026. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.